Scrum phases, release. This slide presents the release phase in Scrum, which focuses on finalizing and validating the sprint output and then identifying areas for improvement. This phase includes two essential processes: 11.1 Demonstrate and Validate Sprint and 11.2 Retrospect Sprint. 11.1 Demonstrate and Validate Sprint. This process is about presenting the completed sprint work to the stakeholders and getting their acceptance. The key idea is to validate the sprint deliverables. Inputs for this process include 1. Scrum Core Team, the team responsible for building the deliverables. Second sprint deliverables, the features or product increment completed during the sprint. Third sprint backlog, the list of tasks and user stories chosen for the sprint. 4. Done criteria, the definition of done that ensures quality and completeness. 5. User story, acceptance criteria, the conditions that a user story must satisfy to be accepted. Tool, the sprint review meeting, where the team demonstrates the product increment to the stakeholders. It is a collaborative session that includes feedback and validation. Output. The main output is accepted deliverables. These are features or components approved by stakeholders as meeting the required acceptance and quality criteria. 11.2 Retrospect Sprint. This process is focused on continuous improvement. It allows the team to reflect on the sprint and determine what went well, what didn't, and how they can improve going forward. Inputs for this process include 1. Scrum Master. Facilitates the meeting and ensures a safe, open discussion. Second Scrum Team. The development team participates actively in this process. Third outputs from the previous step. Learnings and deliverables from the Demonstrate and Validate Sprint process. Tool. The Retrospect Sprint meeting, also known as the Sprint Retrospective. It is held after the sprint review and focuses on team processes, collaboration, and improvements. Output. The output is agreed. Actionable improvements. These are concrete steps that the team will take to enhance their performance and process in the next sprint. Together, these two processes ensure that the product is not only delivered and validated, but also that the team continues to improve its way of working over time. This slide presents the release phase in the Scrum framework. The release phase emphasizes delivering the accepted deliverables to the customer and identifying, documenting, and internalizing the lessons learned during the project. It ensures that value is not only delivered, but also that the team grows and improves through reflection. There are two key processes in this phase. 11.1 Demonstrate and Validate Sprint. This process ensures that the deliverables created during the sprint meet the required quality standards and are accepted by stakeholders. Inputs include 1. Scrum Core Team, responsible for presenting completed work. Second sprint deliverables, the product increment developed in the sprint. Third sprint backlog, the tasks selected for completion during the sprint. 4. Done criteria, defines when work is considered complete. 5. User story, acceptance criteria, specific conditions each user story must meet. Tool, sprint review meetings, a collaborative session where the team demonstrates the increment to stakeholders for validation. Output, accepted deliverables. These are approved items that meet expectations and are ready to be delivered to the customer. 11.2 Retrospect Sprint. After deliverables are validated, the team turns inward to reflect and improve. Inputs include 1. Scrum Master. Facilitates open discussion and reflection. Second Scrum Team. Provides insights on performance and collaboration. Third outputs from Demonstrate and Validate Sprint. What was accepted, what wasn't, and lessons from that experience. Tool: Retrospect Sprint Meeting, a session to assess team dynamics, processes, and find opportunities to improve. Output: Agreed actionable improvements. Concrete steps for improving future team performance and delivery efficiency. This entire release phase ensures the team not only delivers value, but also matures in its practices for continuous improvement. This slide focuses on the final process in the Scrum release phase, which is called Ship Deliverables. It is a critical step that ensures the customer receives a fully functional, tested product or increment. The emphasis is on transitioning from development to delivery in a structured and professional manner. Inputs: These are the key elements required to effectively ship the deliverables. 1. Product owner confirms that deliverables meet business expectations. 2. Stakeholders provide feedback and approve deployment strategy. 3. Accepted deliverables. These are outputs from the sprint review, now ready for deployment. 4. Release planning schedule, a timeline that helps coordinate the release process. 5. Scrum Master facilitates the delivery process and clears any last-minute impediments. 6. Scrum Team executes the deployment activities. 7. User Story. Acceptance criteria ensures each delivered item meets user expectations. 8. Piloting plan, if applicable, defines how features will be tested in a smaller or controlled environment. 9. Scrum guidance, body recommendations, organizational best practices or standards. Tools. 2 important tools aid in delivering the product smoothly. 1. Organizational deployment methods, the company's standardized way to release products, e.g., CI or CD pipelines, staging environments, or phased rollouts. 2. Communication plan ensures all stakeholders are informed about what's being shipped, when, and how. Outputs. The expected results from this process include 1. Working deliverables agreement, official approval from the business or client that the deliverables meet expectations. 2. Working deliverables, the actual increment/product ready for use. 3. Product releases, the handover or deployment of the product to users or customers. In summary, this step transitions the project from execution to delivery, ensuring everything is ready for launch and all parties are aligned. In this part of the release phase, we focus on shipping the deliverables. Once the product owner validates the sprint outputs, they are labeled as accepted deliverables. This means they have met all the defined done criteria and are now eligible to be released to the stakeholders. However, it's important to note that not every sprint ends with a release. Just because something is potentially shippable doesn't mean it will be shipped immediately. The decision to release the product increment is taken during the conduct release planning process. This ensures that delivery is strategic and aligns with business goals, stakeholder readiness, and market timing. The release planning schedule is the document that outlines which deliverables will be released and when they will be released. This helps keep all parties aligned and ensures that delivery is smooth and coordinated. In this part of the release phase, we focus on shipping the deliverables. Once the product owner validates the sprint outputs, they are labeled as accepted deliverables. This means they have met all the defined done criteria and are now eligible to be released to the stakeholders. However, it's important to note that not every sprint ends with a release. Just because something is potentially shippable doesn't mean it will be shipped immediately. The decision to release the product increment is taken during the conduct release planning process. This ensures that delivery is strategic and aligns with business goals, stakeholder readiness, and market timing. The release planning schedule is the document that outlines which deliverables will be released and when they will be released. This helps keep all parties aligned and ensures that delivery is smooth and coordinated. In this section, we look at a critical tool used during the ship deliverables process: organizational deployment methods. Every organization has its own preferred way of deploying deliverables to stakeholders. These methods differ significantly based on the industry the organization operates in, the type of product or service being delivered, and the target user base. For example, in software development, deployment is often done remotely through cloud platforms, app stores, or internal servers. In manufacturing or hardware-based industries, the deployment might involve physical shipping of products, packaging, and logistics coordination. Choosing the right deployment method is critical to ensure that the customer receives the product on time, the product is fully functional and ready to use, and any handover documentation or support is also delivered as required. So, deployment is not just a technical step, it's a business operation that reflects the company's commitment to quality and user satisfaction. This slide continues our discussion on deployment methods used during the ship deliverables process. In most organizations, deployment is considered a high-risk activity, particularly when customer-facing systems or business-critical functions are involved. That's why companies develop well-defined deployment mechanisms that reduce risk and ensure consistency. Let's understand what these may include. 1. Management sign-offs. Before a product is released, approvals are often required from specific management roles, such as the product manager, quality lead, or operations head, to ensure everything aligns with business and compliance standards. 2. User approval mechanisms. Some deployments may require input or approval from end users or client representatives, especially in enterprise or B2B environments. This step confirms that the deliverable meets customer expectations before full rollout. 3. Minimum functionality guidelines. Organizations also have defined rules about what qualifies as a releasable product. This is called the Minimum Releasable Functionality, MRF, or Minimum Viable Product, MVP, depending on context. Only when those criteria are met does the release go ahead. These elements ensure that deployment is controlled, compliant, and aligned with quality standards. The goal is to minimize risk, avoid production issues, and deliver business value smoothly. This slide explains a critical output of the ship deliverables step: the Working Deliverables Agreement. Once the deliverables from a sprint meet the defined acceptance criteria, they undergo a formal approval process. This process includes business sign-off and formal customer or sponsor approval. This approval confirms that the product increment is complete, usable, and aligns with expectations. Getting formal customer acceptance is not just a best practice. It's often legally and financially essential, especially in industries where revenue recognition depends on it. That means the company cannot officially count the revenue from the project until the customer has signed off. However, it's important to note that the responsibility for obtaining customer approval doesn't always fall on the product owner. Different companies may assign this responsibility to the project manager, the client account lead, or another stakeholder based on internal company policy. So, each Scrum team should be clear on who is accountable for ensuring customer sign-off to avoid any delays or confusion in final delivery. This slide focuses on one of the most important outcomes of the Scrum process: the working deliverables. A working deliverable refers to the final shippable output of the project, the product or service for which the project was originally approved and funded. In Scrum, with each sprint, the team develops product increments that are potentially shippable. These increments are not developed in isolation. They are continuously integrated with earlier deliverables. This cumulative approach ensures that the product is always in a usable state. It includes the latest functionality, and it can be shipped or released at any time if needed. This means that at any point in time during the project, the team should be able to present a working version of the product, not just at the end. The concept of potentially shippable product is key in agile delivery, ensuring continuous value generation and readiness to respond to market or stakeholder needs. In this slide, we're discussing another key output of the ship deliverables phase: product releases. A product release is more than just handing over the working software. It involves packaging the release with relevant documentation and support information to ensure a smooth transition for both the end user and the support teams. There are two key components every release should contain. 1. Release content. This includes detailed information about what is being released, what features, updates, or fixes are part of the deliverables. This content is particularly important for the customer support team, as it helps them understand what's new, what's changed, and how to guide end users. 2. Release notes. These are typically external-facing documents, shared with customers, stakeholders, or even the market. Release notes should clearly describe what's included in the release, any limitations or known issues, and the shipping or deployment criteria. Together, the release content and release notes ensure that both internal teams and external users are aligned and well-informed. This minimizes confusion and enhances the overall customer experience during a release. In this phase, the focus is on learning and improvement. The retrospect project process helps the team reflect on the entire project, not just individual sprints, and identify ways to do better in the future. Inputs. We start with 5 major inputs. 1. Scrum Core Teams. These are the team members directly involved in the development. 2. Chief Scrum Master. Facilitates retrospectives and ensures lessons are captured. 3rd Chief Product Owner. Provides insight into stakeholder feedback and overall vision. 4th, Stakeholders. Their feedback is critical to evaluating project success. 5. Scrum Guidance Body Recommendations. Acts as a framework of best practices. Tools 1. Retrospect Project Meeting. This is the core activity where all parties reflect on what went well and what didn't. 2. Other tools. Could be surveys, feedback forms, or root cause analysis. 3. Scrum Guidance Body Expertise. Offers expert recommendations and standardized insights. Outputs 1. Agreed. Actionable improvements. Realistic steps the team commits to for future projects. 2. Assigned action items and due dates. Responsibilities are clearly defined and scheduled. 3. Proposed non-functional items, such as performance, usability, or security enhancements, added to the product backlog. 4. Updated Scrum Guidance Body Recommendations. Enhancements or learnings that benefit future teams across the organization. This is a critical step in Scrum maturity, promoting a culture of continuous improvement and transparency across the organization. Let's now move to the final process in the Scrum flow, the retrospect project. This step is very similar to the retrospect sprint, but instead of reviewing just one sprint, we now reflect on the entire project lifecycle. Who's involved? The Scrum Core team or multiple Scrum teams come together to conduct this review. Why do we do this? The goal of this session is to analyze what went well, what went wrong, and what can be done better next time. This meeting is formally known as the Retrospect Project Meeting. It's not just about pointing out problems, it's about gathering practical insights and turning them into actionable improvements. The output of this meeting often leads to new best practices, process recommendations, and valuable contributions for the Scrum guidance body. All suggestions, lessons learned, and feedback are carefully documented for future use. This ensures that the organization as a whole learns and improves with every project. Let's talk about one of the key inputs for the retrospect project process, the Scrum Core Team. Now, this topic has already been discussed in earlier phases, so I'll just recap briefly. The Scrum Core Team is responsible for driving the project and includes roles such as the Product Owner, Scrum Master, and Scrum Team members. In the context of Retrospect Project, the Core Team plays a crucial role. They bring in hands-on experience and honest insights from throughout the project lifecycle. Their involvement ensures that the analysis is accurate and the feedback is practical and based on real challenges faced during the project. Since we've already explored their structure and responsibilities earlier, we'll now proceed to the next input. Now let's take a moment to reflect and engage with you all. This is a reflection question. Do you conduct retrospect project or similar meetings in your project, and do you think it helps? Please type your response in the question window provided. The idea is to share your real-world experience, whether you're practicing Scrum or any other framework. Your answers will help us all learn from each other's practices and challenges. Also, if you have any follow-up questions related to the retrospect project topic, tools, inputs, outputs, or real-life scenarios, please type those into the question window as well. We'll take a few responses before moving ahead.